किताब यहाँ पढ़ी ऑनलाइन प्रोसेस, ऑनलाइन खरीदो सारा पैसा उसमें जाएगा, यहाँ पे खरीदो तो कुछ एक और प्रयास हम अपना भी तो देखेंगे ना, एक और प्रयास से आगे
पब्लिकली टाइमलाइन भी नहीं आती है, डीएम की बात हो जाती है ऑफ द लाइन कि क्या कर रहे हैं।
The topic for today is impact of social media on electoral politics. What we people have been driving, the media has suddenly woken up. Hey, we can do something, and we know this will impact so many. So let's get started by introducing ourselves. Starting from here.
Namaskar, I am A.S. Raghunath. My Twitter handle is A.S. Raghunath. My Facebook ID is also A.S. Raghunath, and I am from Delhi. I am working as a media professional.
My Twitter handle is Deveshwari, and I am Aisha Agarwala from Delhi.
मेरा नाम अनुपम कुमार पांडे, ट्विटर हैंडल @अनुपम के पांडे. मैं फेसबुक पे भी एक्टिव हूँ. I'm working as a quality analyst in NIT Limited right now.
Varun Sabarwal, my handle is Lo Karlo Baat, and and 100% BJP supporter, and I hope most of us are here, and I'm into real estate in DLF and financial consulting.
My name is Agastya Nigam, and that's my Twitter handle as well. Welcome.
My name is BK Chawla. Twitter handle is B Chawla. So is Facebook. This handle is cracked.
Hi, my name is Manish. On Twitter, I'm available at @Manish Singh M. Same ID holds for Facebook as well. And special thanks to the team for giving me this opportunity to interact with so many intelligent and brilliant folks available on social media platforms.
My name is SC Bhardwaj. My handle is SCB1942. I'm from Sonipat, Haryana. Thank you very much.
My name is Manvin, and my Twitter handle is Ajiha Official, and I have Facebook page as Ajiha as well as social media.
My name is Raji Ranjan, and my Twitter handle is Haraj13. I am working with IBTL as his core member.
मेरा नाम अभिनव सारस्वत है और काफ़ी लंबे समय से फेसबुक पर एक्टिवेट हूँ, लगभग 2009 से. ट्विटर पर लोग मुझे अभिकार्य के नाम से जानते हैं. आईटी से रिलेटेड काम करता हूँ, अपना व्यवसाय है.
मेरा नाम समर्थ सारस्वत है और ट्विटर पर मैं @saraswat नाम से हूँ और पेशे से मैं पत्रकार.
My name is Abhinav Shankar. My Twitter handle is also Abhinav Shankar 1. Personally, I am just an ordinary boy who believes in doing extraordinary. That's all. And professionally, I'm in a Swiss multinational, and means looking after the power projects in North India.
I am Madhusudan Lohia. On Twitter, I go by the handle MS Lohia, and I am an entrepreneur, and I really believe in doing whatever I can in my own ability for India.
My name is Geeti Thadani, and it's the same Twitter handle. And I'm following quite a few of you, so it's very nice to see you in person.
I'm Colonel Manish Jetli, and I'm here to represent my wife, whose Twitter handle is Make Splash. And I want to thank Anilji and Jamin, who have allowed representatives of Twitter handlers to be present.
My name is Mukesh Urmadia. I'm an IT professional. My handle is Muki008. I have worked in Middle East for 2.5 years, so I have seen some things from my nude eyes, and I have known the difference, the people so here and the people so there, and how the people get changed when they are in different fields. Okay, thank you.
My name is Ashok Sharma. My Twitter handle is Ashok S0101. I work for the Times Group. That's it.
मेरा नाम विक्रांत है, विक्रांत कुमार मेरा ट्विटर हैंडल है. मैं एक IT कंपनी के लिए काम करता हूँ और सोशल मीडिया इम्प्लीमेंटेशन मेरा कोर एरिया है जहाँ पे मैं काम कर रहा हूँ अभी।
I am Vishal Nishchal. My Twitter handle is Vishal NK4. Most of the majority over here is an IT professional basically. I am a jeweler.
मेरा नाम तेजिंदर पाल सिंह बग्गा है। भगत सिंह क्रांति नाम का एक संगठन है, हैंडल तेजिंदर बग्गा है, जो 2 साल पहले हमने संगठन बनाया। कभी प्यार से कभी तकरार से उसमें काम चलता रहता है।
मेरा नाम पवन बजाज है और मैं अपने अग्रज मनु बजाज सिंगापुरी की तरफ से यहाँ पे हूँ और मेरा व्यवसाय है शेयर बाजार एक्सपर्ट हूँ मैं और उसके साथ थोड़ा बहुत कुछ और इधर उधर।
I am Prashant Singh. My Twitter handle is Prash Singh and I am working in banking industry.
YK Sheetal, Yogesh Kumar Sheetal. My Twitter handle is YK Sheetal and the same on Facebook.
My name is Anurag Kumar and my Twitter handle is Anurag Kumar LKO. And among other things, I am a dropout journalist and a dropout med school student. And right now, I am writing historical novels. I have written 2 of them. I hope I don't drop out. But for a living, I am a small-time exporter.
This is Akansha Malhotra and I am a content writer. I am a staunch BJP supporter and Narendra Modi follower.
मेरा नाम राहुल कौशिक है। मेरा हैंडल @कौशिक राहुल के नाम से है और यहाँ पर काफ़ी लोग से परिचय हमारा पुराना, मधुसूदन, अनिल जी सब लोग बैठे हैं यहाँ पर, हम लोग मिलते रहते हैं दिल्ली में। मेरा सोशल मीडिया पर आना तो बहुत समय से है, पर 1-1.25 साल से पिछले हम लोग काफ़ी सक्रिय होकर काम कर रहे हैं। दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी में हमने पिछले साल एक डॉक्टर स्वामी का इंटरेक्शन कराया था यूनिवर्सिटी स्टूडेंट से, उसमें लगभग 550 स्टूडेंट्स आए थे। उससे पहले हमने एक पाकिस्तानी हिंदुओं पर एक डॉक्यूमेंट्री फिल्म बना के उसका यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में स्क्रीनिंग कराई थी। मीनाक्षी जी ने अटेंड किया था इवेंट और लोगों ने किया था। पिछले साल इसी कॉन्फ्रेंस हॉल में कुछ लोग बैठे हैं, मधुसूदन बैठे हैं, तेजिंदर बैठे हैं, जो यहाँ पर हमने IBTL भारत संवाद करके कॉन्फ्रेंस का ऑर्गेनाइज किया था और उसमें डॉक्टर स्वामी, मीनाक्षी जी, निर्मला सीतारमन जी, बहुत सारे लोग आए थे। बाकी ये जो झंडे वाला लोगो है बगल में, इनके साथ मैं काम करता हूँ IBTL के साथ। वो एडिटर साहब बैठे हैं हमारे उधर, अभिनव जी।
Hi friends, my name is Pankaj Jagor and same is my Twitter handle. I'm a banker by profession. Thank you.
My name is Rajat Sharma. Twitter handle is Rajat_Sharma_. I am a private banker. This is Amit Raina. My Twitter handle is Raina Amit, ex-banker again. And I'm an IDP, internally displaced person, and currently coordinator for Roots in Kashmir.
I am Ashish Malhotra. My Twitter handle is the_doctor. I'm a doctor by training, and of course I did it from the Armed Forces Medical College. Wanted to be in the forge, but life had its own quirks. I couldn't get commissioned in the forge, so thought I would come out, work for the country, work for the health of the country. I realized that before health, you got to have some wealth.
Yeah, once upon a time my handle was DV_twit. Right now it's lose motion. And like we have in Twitter, we have Friday follows. So I'll just recommend 2 handles. Saturday follows. One is CRI, team_CRI. They're doing good work. And another is Ed Gupta Policy. Now that guy is fun too. If you are not already following him, do follow.
मेरा नाम नवरंग है और ये मेरा ओरिजिनल नाम है। और ट्विटर पे भी मेरा हैंडल जो है नवरंगी है। पर्सनली यहाँ पे सबसे अच्छी बात लग रही है, सर बैठे हुए हैं, मैम बैठी हुई है, यहाँ पे चावला जी बैठे हुए हैं, मैम वहाँ बैठी हुई है, मतलब ये और सर वहाँ पे खड़े हैं, अनिल जी। मतलब यंगस्टर के अलावे जो लोग इतने सीनियर हो के भी जो अभी जो काम कर रहे हैं, मतलब जो हमें करना चाहिए बेसिकली, मतलब यंगस्टर को करना चाहिए, तो आई रियली सैल्यूट देम फॉर देम। रघुनाथ जी छूट गए थे। आई सिंसियरली थिंक कि मतलब जो हमें करना चाहिए वो अभी कर रहे हैं, तो इट्स वेरी गुड, मतलब इट्स अमेजिंग एक्चुअली। और जेमिन और सुरेश है नहीं, तो दे आर एक्चुअली माई रियल लाइफ हीरोज। तेजिंदर जी बैठे हुए हैं, ये सब लोग जो हैं ये मेरे रियल लाइफ हीरो हैं. सो आई सिंसियरली विश देम ऑल द बेस्ट एंड आई विश कि वन डे दिस इज ट्रांजिशन बियॉन्ड ट्विटर, तो वन डे वी विल डिस्कवर ए प्लैनेट बियॉन्ड ट्विटर.
मैं एक स्वयंसेवक हूँ, एक आईटी कंपनी में एज आर्किटेक्ट हूँ और मैं ट्विटर पे कुछ हैंडल्स में हूँ जैसे संघ परिवार ORG, आई सपोर्ट नमो, युग पुरुष मोदी, बीजेपी कर्नाटका ऑफिशियल. और फेसबुक, इन केस यू गाइस आर ऑन फेसबुक यू वुड हैव सीन RSS पेज और आई सपोर्ट नमो करके एक पेज है और यूट्यूब में मोदी जी का ऑफिशियल जो है और मैं उनके साथ में काम करता हूँ.
Name is Ajay Singh. Twitter handle is APS Ajay Pratap Singh 4466. Incidentally, 4466 is my first scooter's number. Do not think of anything else. That is not it. By training, I am a failed chartered accountant. I could not become one, but for living, I do some real estate.
मेरा नाम त्रिपुरारी शरण शुक्ला है और मैं वर्चुअल वर्ल्ड में चंदन शुक्ला के नाम से एग्जिस्ट करता हूँ. ट्विटर हैंडल मेरा चंदन_SH है.
My name is Kesar Rao. My Twitter handle is @Kesar_. I'm from Mumbai. I'm a digital media consultant in Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore. So I travel a lot.
मेरा नाम आलोक भट्ट है. मेरा ट्विटर हैंडल आलोक_भट्ट है और मैं चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट हूँ. मैंने 3 साल पहले कॉर्पोरेट वर्ल्ड को अलविदा कह के अब हम लोग पहाड़ों में काम करते हैं. इसके अलावा हम स्कूल के बच्चों के साथ में कॉर्पोरेट ट्रेनिंग भी करते हैं.
Jamin_P, Jamin Panchal. It's really great to be in Delhi after in the 4th edition of the Twitter Transition Beyond Twitter. And thank you guys for making it possible. Also, we thank IBTL to be our event partner.
Gentlemen and very few ladies. मैंने इनसे कहा कि देखिए मैं आते ही हिमाकत करने वाली हूँ. आपने कहा 2 शब्द कहूँ तो मैं 2 से ज़्यादा कहूँगी. फिर एक महाशय ने कहा कि शुक्र मनाइए, he hasn't said 140 characters. I'm an attendee today, but I'm a very forced attendee. I have to be very honest. Forced because I told Suresh that there are many amongst you that I keep interacting with, that I keep reading about. Many amongst you who enlighten me on various issues. And I wanted to see all of you in person for 2 reasons. One is to thank you for becoming the alternative. There was a time in our democracy where journalists, newspapers and then news channels became the holy cow in Indian politics. Whatever they said, whatever they did, whatever they projected became patthar ki lakeer. Then came a time where citizens at large started questioning the agenda behind the stories. And then citizens got a platform where they could discuss, articulate, debate on what the real agenda is. There was a time when citizens used to articulate, debate, that there were many in the Indian polity and many journalists as well who wrote off the social media. I think because somewhere deep inside they felt a sense of threat. Threat because here was an opportunity where a simple average Indian who had absolutely no agenda suddenly found a voice that could even challenge the establishment. I wanted to thank you today for becoming the alternative, not only in terms of looking at the agenda behind the story, but also at times pushing a story that needs to be told. You are doing this prayas in Delhi. There is one request I have. I have travelled extensively in the northeast as well. Many a times the voices we hear are very North Indian centric, Mumbai centric, Gujarat centric, Madhya Pradesh centric. There are many voices from down south who are not here today. Through you, I want to even thank those voices who are not available today to interact with. but I would actually beseech you to even reach out to those youngsters, to those voices who are in the Northeast, who want attention towards issues in the Northeast. Because many a times when I travel to the Northeast, I'm told कि हमारी कहानियाँ हमारे border और हमारे state तक ही सीमित रह जाती है. Nobody seems to be interested in what we are doing or what we are going through. That is one request. आज यहाँ पर कई स्टार पैनलिस्ट आएंगे मैंने सुना है, तो आई एम श्योर कि आपको जो भी इंटरेक्शन करना है, आपके जितने भी प्रश्न हैं उनका उत्तर आपको मिलेगा. मेरे बारे में अब मैं अपने ही नाम से ट्वीट करती हूँ. मेरे बारे में जानकारी कई बार संकुचित होती है. आई एम नॉट वन ऑफ दोज पॉलिटिशियंस और वन ऑफ दोज पब्लिक फिगर्स हु गोज एंड राइट्स हर ओन पेज on Wikipedia, and that's why there are many conflicting backgrounds about me. I have seen many of you valiantly defend my acting past, and I've seen many of you be at the receiving end for defending people like me. As a woman activist, let me say that there is an increasing abusive environment for women on Twitter. It does not matter, and I'm saying this as a woman today, I'm saying it as a citizen today. For me, it does not matter which ideology that lady belongs to. For me, what matters is when I get into the discussion, मैं क्या संस्कार लेकर आती हूँ. कई बार बड़ा मुश्किल होता है to fight fairly. कई बार बड़ा मुश्किल होता है when one hand is tied behind your back and others who are fighting you have not only the 100 crore resource behind them, but also they have absolutely no holds bar when it comes to attacking you, when it comes to attacking your way of life, when it comes to attacking your belief system. As a woman, I feel that there is a necessity today to put forth what our ideology, what our thought process, what our way of life has been with regards to women, not only in the modern context of India. जिन लोगों के पास मेरे बारे में थोड़ी बहुत कम जानकारी है, मैं आज का ये मौका उठा रही हूँ जानबूझकर, ताकि मैं अपना थोड़ा इतिहास आपके समक्ष रख सकूँ. My first responsibility in the BJP came in the year 2003. I have been born into a family of Swayamsevaks. My grandfather, maternal grandfather, contributed to the Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram movement. My mother was a Jansanghi, but I'm the first ever politician in the family, which actually is not a good credential to have. I received the opportunity to serve the party as the Vice President of Youth Wing in Maharashtra in 2003. I fought the election in Chandni Chowk, which everybody knows, and I'm sure the Congress doesn't miss an opportunity to remind you, in 2004. In 2005, I became the secretary in Maharashtra state. Recently, I was given the opportunity to serve as the vice president of the BJP. Another aspect of my journey has been that I was deputed as the WHO ambassador to India, and I've served as a WHO ambassador to India for 3 years for the ORS program. In the Inter-Parliamentary Union, I was unanimously elected on behalf of the entire Asia-Pacific region as a rapporteur for the Syrian conflict. Now, when you look at the Tulsi image and then you try to look at the Syrian conflict, it is a conflict unto itself. But yes, I will never deny that in Indian television also I had an opportunity to make a contribution. And why I never shy away from owning up that journey as well is that within the context of entertainment, there was a certain part of my belief system that I could project to the people of India. Through my efforts or my acting for whatever the backlash that Saas Bahu soaps get, at least we could send the message that it's okay to get up in the morning, start your day with prayer, touch the feet of your elders, receive that Ashirwad and then continue with the journey in life. I am not ashamed of it. In fact, I'm extremely proud of it. It is very rare that hatred towards me was developed only when I stepped into a BJP office. As long as I was just an actor doing Saas Bahu, I was lovable. But the minute it was discovered that I was a Swayamsevak's daughter, that is when all hell broke loose. But let me say this once again, I'm extremely proud of my heritage, I'm extremely proud of my ideological background, and I'm extremely proud that I had an opportunity today to discuss, to meet all of you, who I'm extremely grateful for. Because people like me end up becoming vice presidents, MPs, there are many amongst us who become MLAs, but people like you, आपके पास कोई प्रलोभन नहीं है. What drives you?
We don't need that.
What drives you is possibly a desire to see that justice is done, and that drive is a very noble cause to have. So I congratulate you not only for being a decisive force in social media, but I also thank God every day that human beings like you exist in Bharatvarsh in 2013. Thank you once again.
मेरा एक प्रश्न नहीं है, it's just a little bit of observation. Of late, there is a subdued aggression on the part of the BJP's spokespersons, which is very good, which we saw, which we talked about. And people like Meenakshi ji and you especially, they have been a little aggressive in the media. Unfortunately, ma'am, this has happened very lately. पहले, जैसे for example, Rahul Gandhi could get away with making statements like कि इन्होंने कांदाहार में उनको छोड़ दिया. And I was really surprised not to have seen a very violent reaction from the BJP. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. I was expecting it. So I want to commend that the aggression, which is now slowly building up, has to be continued, and it has to be taken to a crescendo before the elections happen, 2014 or before that. So this is just a small little observation that the spokespersons have to ram it in whoever it is.
I normally don't defy an army man, but there are 2-3 requests that I would like to highlight here. One, I think it's better late than never, but I'm also of the opinion that every format of conversation or interaction need not be aggressive. There are many formats or platforms where we might meet people who don't agree with us necessarily, who are possibly on the border, who don't like the Congress party, who would want to support us. And we have to pick and choose the platforms or the debates or the conversation where we have to show aggression, and some places where we take a calculated risk of keeping calm irrespective of the provocation to ensure that we can relay the facts of the case. So yes, thank you so much for commending the women power. But I would also like to highlight that the more and more women in the BJP are coming out and speaking against the Congress, I see that an environment is vitiated where they are ridiculed in press and on Twitter, and a prejudice which is not faced by Congress women is now being openly faced by women in the BJP. So I'm sure that none of you has missed the ridicule, the humiliation, the slander. The only disadvantage we have is that unlike a few people on the center or the left, none of us behave like the Abla Nari and cry over the attacks that they undergo.
You've seen a personal attack on Modi ji from Nitish Kumar and the JDU.
Yes.
I mean, what has been the party's directive? How our spokesperson, how we look forward, in the future, how we look forward our spokesperson tackling in the JDU or the Nitish Kumar per se?
तो पहला तो मेरा आपसे निवेदन ये है कि हमें आपस में जो भी चर्चा करनी है, उस चर्चा में ये तय करना होगा कि हम पब्लिकली क्या कहें और अपने घर की चार दीवारी में क्या कहें. जहाँ तक जेडीयू का संबंध है, तो मुझे लगता है राजनाथ जी ने एक राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष होने के नाते अपनी जिम्मेदारी को बखूबी निभाते हुए सबको कहा है कि मर्यादा का उल्लंघन करना मुझे लगता है पार्टी के हित में नहीं है. तो एक मर्यादा के अंदर बात करें, लेकिन मैंने भी इसको टाइम्स नाउ पर कहा है कि आप ये ना समझें कि गठबंधन की मर्यादा का पालन करना हमारी कोई कमजोरी है, ये हमारे संस्कारों का प्रमाण है. तो कई लोग हैं जो अपने लाभ के लिए उत्तेजित करना चाहेंगे. लेट्स नॉट बिकम द कैटलिस्ट एंड लेट्स नॉट ऐड टू दैट कंफ्यूजन.
Yes, 3 points I want to make. For quite some time we have been listening to this 2002, 2002.
Yes.
It's only lately that you started off with 1947. It's very nice that you've started to open their chitta and tell them what they have done and how they have
somehow hoodwinked the media from
They haven't hoodwinked the media, or certain people in the media have been willing partners in it. Let's put it that way.
Yes, they have been able to get their support.
Yes.
It's very nice that they have done it. Similarly, for this Kandahar thing, I don't know if you know or not. In 1976 or 78, there was this hijacking of a plane from Calcutta to Delhi. Two brothers were involved. Both of them, I think, got MLA tickets, and one of them was made a minister. Why don't you highlight this? That this is the Congress.
See, with regards to Kandahar, there was an all-party meeting and a consensus in Indian politics. So I have never been posed that question. Otherwise, I would ask congressmen to publicly declare whether they regret that Indians were saved in Kandahar.
Or what were they doing, or what was their reaction at that point of time?
There was a consensus within Indian polity which included Congress leaders who said go to Kandahar.
If you have the minutes of the meeting, have it published. Let it be known in public.
No, I completely take your point. But like I had said in one of the debates, that let's actually bring it out on the public forum. Let's start discussing from 1947 onwards, not only riots. I am of the opinion कि सारे विषयों को आप कवर कीजिए. भारत के एक-एक राज्य में जाएं और आप एक और प्रयास कर सकते हैं. भारत के एक-एक राज्य में जाएं और आम जनता के बीच में मुझ जैसा कार्यकर्ता भी खड़े होकर एक-एक बिंदु पर डिबेट करने के लिए तैयार है. कांग्रेस से हमें कोई मिलेगा, किसी और पार्टी से हमें कोई मिलेगा. हम लोग न सिर्फ राइट्स को डिस्कस करें, उसको संकुचित ना करें, उसको बढ़ाएं. हर राज्य में गवर्नेंस के इशू को डिस्कस कीजिए, हर राज्य में डेवलपमेंट के इशू को डिस्कस कीजिए. मुस्लिम समुदाय के बीच में भी जाकर पूछिए कि कांग्रेस ने 6.5 दशक बाद वोट बैंक बनाकर उनका इस्तेमाल तो किया, लेकिन क्या उनके बच्चों को नौकरी दी, क्या उनके बच्चों को सुरक्षा दी, क्या उनके बच्चों को आपने एजुकेशन दी? ये प्रश्न, जैसे कि मैंने सीधी बात में कहा, महंगाई जब देश में बढ़ती है तो सिर्फ हिंदू के लिए नहीं बढ़ती है. And I think these discussions and these topics need to come out in the public forum, not only through political parties, but also people like you. Average Indians should go out and initiate these kind of discussions. You are, you are meeting as people here, but people can meet people and possibly have engaged them in this dialogue. And now is the time, because 2014 ज़्यादा दूर नहीं है.
Firstly, I'd like to say that when I see, women politicians from BJP taking on the media, who basically don't allow you to speak.
Yeah.
And of course, whenever a Congress person comes onto the mic, they don't stop.
Because they know that congressmen have nothing of substance to say.
They have nothing of substance. Whether the men or the women.
So they rather listen to rubbish than to content.
Exactly. Now I've been finding since the 2 years I've been on Twitter is that there is a consciousness rising. I've seen it's affected myself as well.
Yes.
Because I felt very isolated and I have a past coming from the feminist movement, and I've actually been saying that Congress is completely done everything against women. I mean, if the BJP is asking for, say, discussion in the Lok Sabha, the Congress is vetoing it. And yet the media goes on presenting the Congress as more women-friendly, which I think is absurd.
I think that the only way that we can utilize the power of Twitter in democracy, you see, of late people, it's ironical that there are ministers in the cabinet who have joined Twitter, but at the same time they say Twitter doesn't matter. I'm like, if it doesn't matter, why do you waste your time joining it? The hypocrisy is very obvious in that. My request to you, ma'am, is this. You, like you said, you're from the feminist movement and you've been active on Twitter for the past 2 years. Let's not limit ourselves only to discussion. Can Twitter become that bridge between what a normal person thinks and how a normal person can contribute to politics? I'm not here saying take BJP pamphlets and go from house to house. Can we take up an initiative where, which I discussed earlier with one or two people, that आपकी गली में, आपकी कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी में क्या विषय मायने रखते हैं? आपकी कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी में वो क्या विषय हैं जो आज तक किसी ने उसके ऊपर ध्यान नहीं दिया? आपकी कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी में, और ये आप पर्सनली हमको इन्फॉर्मेशन दे सकती हैं, बीजेपी की स्ट्रेंथ कैसे बढ़ सकती है? आपकी कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी में कितने लोग ऐसे हैं जो जानते हैं कि भाई पोलिंग बूथ पर जाना है, वोट करना है? कितने लोगों की एक्चुअली इंटरेस्ट है? अगर हम ये सारी बातों पर भी थोड़ा, I mean, it's a very exhaustive kind of an effort, but if some of us can actually get into it, then Twitter can become not only a platform for discussion but also a bridge do you, actually put the effort in to ensure more and more people come out to vote?
There is a feeling that everybody is anti-establishment, anti-Congress, pro-BJP. But when it comes to election, your point only, when it comes to elections, is our BJP's poll management weak or what? That they don't convert into seats and we don't win. Like Congress still getting 40 to 50% votes. Whereas you go to any person, you go to a vegetable seller or a barber, he will say Congress ko to nahi jeetna. Still, somewhere we lack that. It is not converted into seats and we don't win.
See, I completely agree with you. A challenge where we had that. We've had that process. We've seen that challenge up close in a state like Goa, where in the recent election, there were many congressmen who were spending money like water. But people were coming up to us and saying कि नहीं हम पैसा ले लेंगे वोट आपको देंगे. Many of us were a bit apprehensive. कि हाँ अभी बोल रहे हैं लेकिन गड़बड़ उलास भी होने वाली है. But the anti-Congress movement was so strong in Goa that people didn't look into the religious aspect of politics. They only looked at governance and development. And that happened because we were constantly interacting not only through our own political party, but we even had people like you who were actually going to Rotary Club meetings, Lions Club meetings, and actually were talking and interacting. And the more people heard ordinary citizens talking against the Congress, the more they felt that yes. That is why I am requesting you that if you could please contribute.
मधु किशोर ने कल ANI को बैठ दिया है. उसमें उन्होंने कहा इंटेलेक्चुअल टेररिज्म की बात करी. और ये संघ बहुत सालों पहले से बात कहता आ रहा है. अगर आपके पास कोई कारगर हथियार नहीं है, जैसे मीडिया जिस तरह से बिहेव करता, मुझे नहीं लगता कि आप इनके थ्रू आप उसको काउंटर कर सकते हैं. क्यों ना मीडिया में वो लोग जो नेशनलिस्ट हैं, आप उनको क्यों नहीं स्पेस देते, आप उनको टाइम क्यों नहीं देते? जैसे सुदर्शन न्यूज, कई बार वो कहते हैं कि बीजेपी के जो लीडर्स हैं वो आते नहीं.
अच्छा, नहीं, मुझे आज तो सुदर्शन न्यूज ने बुलाया नहीं.
कई बार उन्होंने कहा तो नहीं आपका तो वो भी बयान नहीं है तो नहीं आता. तो ऐसे लोग क्यों नहीं सपोर्ट करते?
मैं आपसे शुक्ला जी इतना ही कहूंगी, मुझे आज तक बुलाया नहीं, वरना मैं जरूर जाती. आपसे कहती हूँ कि आप 100 ऐसी जगह चिन्हित कीजिए जहाँ पे आपको इंटेलेक्चुअल वार्तालाप करनी है, मैं वहाँ पे आने होता.
A small gift.
Please tell media crooks I will desperately invest suggestions, lot of ideas,
Suresh,
I didn't do much homework to Ek Aur Prayas.
कर लेंगे, don't worry.
Somehow.
We are very strong team.
No, definitely. You can take my details from him and SMS me when. Thank you.
The subject for today, we all know, is impact of social media. Now there are two sections. One is a section which says no impact, very low density, and nothing is going to happen because we know how management of election happens and we know exactly how to manage the elections. That's one section. Mostly the section which depends on the poverty of this country to be voted back. Then there's another section which says we are going to change it. This is the vocal media. We are going to speak the things which have been suppressed by the contemporary media across, and we will show what the change is. And this is going to be a very, very powerful media, and this is what is going to be the change in the next election. My opinion on this subject is that the truth is somewhere in between about whether the social networking media will have any impact on the real election. Because it is voicing an opinion is one part, but harvesting that opinion is the second part. You've built an atmosphere, you discuss certain subjects, you force the contemporary media to discuss what you want them to discuss, because normally this is the Twitterity or whatever we can say, are the people who are vocal, who are speaking, who are discussing subjects. So the contemporary media also is forced to pick up those subjects and is discussing those subjects. Certain information, because the information is traveling at a very, very fast pace, you really can't suppress anything about anyone. And under those circumstances, the media becomes really important. So this is a tool. We try to use this particular opportunity and make an impact and make a dent. But probably that dent by itself was not enough to build on the momentum. Because, okay, one television, 9 to 10, 2 sentences, 5 sentences you've spoken, some people have picked and some people have not really picked it. But if you put it on Twitter, if you put it on Facebook, it goes not only into circulation, but people go back and refer to it repeatedly. And they start searching for truth, that what really happened, or what really is the number, what really is the background, who are the people, whether they are actually NGO workers, or they are paid employees, or they are the beneficiaries in some format or the other. It helps them to have a system of open wounds than to have them sealed for good. When you talk about scams, you know how figures are fussed and maneuvered and manipulated, how certain reports are kept under the desk and never brought out. And then I'll discuss one report which was called, way back in 70s, there was a report called Shah Commission report, which was a report which came against the emergency rule, where people were forcibly sterilized, homes were burnt, removed, people were forcibly removed, and people who were opposing all this, I mean, people like you and me, or people who were maybe more committed to the cause of nation, who had seen the freedom struggle, were the ones who were fighting against this, because they said this is not what we fought for, this is not why we went to jails, this is not the system we asked for, and we have as much right over this nation as a particular family, or maybe more, because this is not the system we worked for. Now these are the people who are opposing it, and they are forcibly pushed into the jail. And there was a movement around that, and people were out on the streets. Now imagine if a thing like that happens today, what will be the impact? The impact will be wild. I mean, though even that time the impact was wild, but reports were taken away, burnt, removed. 4 reports, originals were left, people like a judge who had it, prosecution who had it, another lawyer who had it, and one more person. Just about one in the parliament. Just four reports were kept. Rest, every report was seized and burnt and removed from the record. Can that happen today? Answer is no, it cannot. You can't do it. There is no system which will allow you to do it. There may be newspapers which may be under direct control, but there will be some newspapers which are not. There may be some officers which are blind, there may be some who are not blind. There may be some who are willing to suppress the fact, there will definitely be some who will be very vocal about it. And best of all, we have networking media. Anybody can just scan the copy, put it on the net, and it's there for good. You want to remove it, keep blocking it, it will keep coming up somewhere else. That is the impact this media has. We've seen another shoddy clip of a video which was not shown on any television channel, but it went viral on the net. So this is the impact, the positive impact, especially in a democratic setup, that you really can't suppress and hide things which you would want to otherwise, and which, according to me, personal opinion, it's giving roots to democracy. No matter how hard one may want, how undemocratic one may be in one's approach, autocratic or whatever. And these are the people who have lived a life of undemocratic philosophy, are the ones who are repeatedly abusing on the social media. They were the beneficiaries of the emergency and such things which have happened, which were against our democratic setup, which have happened, and these are the people who have benefited from all this. And these very people are the ones who are against the liberalization of media.
He is one of those journalists who does not exercise his lung power, yet speaks the loudest. If you need a forthright view, he is the man. Never minces words. The punch is straight and hard to the solar plexus, leaves you breathless. Mr. Kanchan Gupta and Mrs. Leghi, I request you to unveil the book, which is Social Media. He wants to sell more of them.
He does not want anybody to copy this before buying it.
You see, when I started journalism, it was a very boring profession. It wasn't a particularly exciting profession. There was no television those days. You only had Doordarshan, and you couldn't get more boring than that. I began my career with the Telegraph in Calcutta, which was then, I was a fresh graduate, and M.J. Akbar was launching a new paper, and he wanted, I guess, kids whom he wouldn't have to pay a lot of money. Not that there was much money going around those days. I mean, our starting salary was 750 rupees. And then I moved on to the Statesman because they were willing to pay me 1400 rupees. My big break was in Delhi when Vinod Mehta launched The Pioneer from Delhi, and I had met him a few times in various circumstances. And, the first time I met him, he was wearing a pair of green trousers. Now, the reason I'm saying all this is that media's emergence as a powerful voice, and I use the word powerful over here within quotes, it's of recent vintage. And if we are looking for linkages as to why that has happened, I would say it's because literacy has spread. More people are literate today. Information is more readily accessible. And whether we like it or not, opinion in our country is largely shaped by the urban elite. And the urban elite is very easily persuaded. It's the most selfish I, me and myself class of people that you can come across. They cannot think beyond themselves. They cannot look beyond themselves. And they connect very easily with what we know as mainstream media today, MSM. They like to identify themselves with that kind of a worldview because they think that's fashionable. Now, I'll tell you why it's important to contest the communal secular debate, and why it is important to take a stand on it. India is secular not because of its constitution. The Indian constitution did not mention the word secular or secularism till they decided to turn India into a socialist republic and added secular between socialism and republic. we never had, if you go back to ancient history of India, we never had a system where the state was dominated by religion, or we never had a religion that was dominated by a church. So we never needed to separate state and church. Europe needed to do that. Church was the state. So Reformation required a separation of the temporal and the spiritual. We didn't need it. I'm not a monarchist, but what was our system? We had a king, and the king had his ministers, and one of the ministers happened to be the Raj Purohit, advisor. And then came the perversion, where the state got fused with faith. And that perversion came when India was invaded from the West. I'm not saying that it was a perversion because we had a system in place which was perverted. And then came the British, and they needed to separate the state and religion all over again. And then we had Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru, who thought that secularism was all about denying all that is good about you and pretending that all that is good about others is the best that can ever happen to you. Between then and now, we have reached a position where secularism has come to mean denial. It means living in denial. It means disowning that which is true. And it means condoning every possible crime that can be committed by positing it against secularism. I don't know how many of you would remember, but when the Chara Ghotala first broke, these days when you talk of scandals, it runs into thousands and lakhs of crores of rupees. But when scandals first started happening, big time scandals, it was usually 30 crores, 50 crores, 60 crores, at best maybe 70, 80, 100 crores. But Chara Ghotala was definitely, I think it was
970.
That was the first time, it sort of
reached
almost 1,000 crores. And I remember that there was a press conference in Delhi, and it was Harkishan Singh Surjeet. He was addressing the press conference, and he was asked, but how can you support Lalu Prasad Yadav? How can you endorse him politically? This is what he has done. And he said, better corruption than communalism. He said it. And that became the practice. And even today that continues. Now coming back to what we are here today to discuss about social media and elections and its impact on elections. I don't think social media has evolved sufficiently in our country to have a direct impact on elections, at least not in the near future. In terms of convincing people into voting for a particular party or a particular person. you still need to go a long way. Your internet penetration has to be much deeper. You have to have a larger mass of people on social media, and of that larger mass of people on social media, you need people who are looking at social media in a more serious manner, not just as a time pass thing. So Facebook must evolve beyond posting photographs of your binge drinking or your partying or your last girlfriend. So, but at the same time, we have definitely reached a critical mass when we can begin to shape opinion. And that is important. You see, elections mean people coming out to vote. And often we think that when people are voting, they are ideologically driven to vote for a particular party or for a particular candidate. That is not quite the case. Ideology drives only a minority. Others are driven by considerations that have nothing to do with ideology. Some people vote for a party or on a particular symbol because they believe that this is going to give them good governance. Some people do it because of considerations other than good governance. It could be caste, community, kin, anything. And then there are the fence sitters. This expression has been floating around on Twitter for the past week. Fence sitter. Now, a fence sitter is not necessarily a deplorable person. I mean, most of us are really fence sitters. Most of our voters really are fence sitters. They are not committed that come what may, never mind, even if I lose, even if this party loses, I shall go out and vote for that party. No. Most of us are fence sitters. We sway with the wind. And we sit on the fence till it is very clear in which direction the wind is blowing. And that is where social media and your participation in social media can be effective. You preaching to the converted is the easiest thing that can be done. I can stand at the pulpit and I can preach to 100 people over here. I know it's not difficult to connect. We think alike. But the difficult thing is to go out and preach to the unconverted and to get them to think along with you. And that is how you can have accretion of support. And that is how you can increase your support base. And this is something which anybody can do, not only party A or party B, but anybody who is interested in accretion of support should be following this. Let me tell you that we are heading for some pretty tough times. Tough times in terms of social upheavals, tough times in terms of economic upheavals, and tough times in terms of keeping this country together. Too many parts of the country are straining at the leash, and genuinely straining. We only look at Kashmir, we think of Kashmir when we think of separatism. That's unfair. Too many parts of our society are straining at the leash. And we are not going to get any better if there is no change in the government. This government must go. I have never hidden the fact, and posturing was always there in media, even when it was boring. Nobody would openly fly his or her flag and declare his or her political affiliation or political choice. I have always been the odd man out. I hold the Congress in contempt, and I believe rightly so. And if I hold the Congress in contempt, I must not pretend, I will be dishonest to myself if I pretend to be unbiased when it comes to dealing with the subject of politics, of choices. For the sake of this country, and when I say this country, I mean every part of this country's society, every individual, this government must go. The Congress must go. We have to look for alternatives. And when we look for alternatives, we have to be very careful as to what is the choice we are exercising. We have been trapped in this bogus debate about ideological paths to follow as a nation for 65 years now. We must jump that. And we must now start talking governance. We must now start talking delivery. We must now start talking where do we go from here as a nation, and being mindful of our national interest. I somehow sense that the country itself is looking for change. Young India, new India is looking for change. And we must propel that change. We must be the propeller. We must direct that change. And each one of us can play a significant role in that. If we put all distractions aside, and like I said, just focus on your goal and just be determined that you must achieve that goal.
Whoever has a question, please identify yourself. Try and restrict only to the question, no preamble, no example, please, so that there can be more questions taken and everybody feels satisfied. Please state the person to whom you will address your questions. The mic will come to you.
As nationalists, what individual contributions can we render to realize this dream of Modi ji as PM?
And countering those wrongs, and in fact not just countering, as Kanchan said, being on an agenda is to basically tell people all the rights which have been done in that state. So that is one way of contributing. We all have contribution to make by conducting ourselves in the right format, doing our things right. That's the first thing I always maintain, that your personal life and professional life should be in order, so that there's no one to question you on those things. The second thing is that what beyond that is to say the right things and to have the right thoughts. So cultivating that part, that not only playing a game where we are constantly defending ourselves, but changing the narrative by placing the right things which have been done during his tenure in that state. Whether any other state can claim that kind of development during that much of time. So that's changing the narrative. That in 10 years you keep saying, Gujarat, say for example, people say was always a rich state, right? Now if it was a rich state and nothing has been done, then why was female literacy so low, which is today about 78%? So when somebody says malnutrition, to say what is the malnutrition level of rest of the country. In fact, the data which is being shown, I got to know, is the data of 2004. So changing the narrative, it's going to the roots and saying, flashing these papers in their face, say this is the correct picture. So what you're talking is absolutely incorrect. When people keep talking about 2002 riots, changing the narrative that how many thousand riots have happened in India, and major ones contribute to something like 77. And whenever they name a particular community as if it saying that community was massacred, the answer is 34% Hindus also died in a state which has just about 9.2% of Muslim population. Changing the paradigm and forcing people to think. I'm not saying killing anybody is right. Law and order should be so perfect that there should be no right. And that is what has happened post-2002. That is the narrative. And what has happened in Assam last year? What has happened in Andhra Pradesh last year? What has happened in Rajasthan last year? How many riots? How many people? Who died? Who killed? So getting that information out in the public, and especially when you see what is happening is that they are trying to create a sense of insecurity amongst the minorities. That's how I read it. Because they think that 5 to 10% of this particular, or say 18% of the population is going to be the determinant factor. Now 18%, I can give it in writing that it's not a monolithic block that it is going to vote en masse, number one. Number two, it's not as if people from minority community are not thinking people. I think they are wise people. And it's like challenging somebody's wisdom. So you have to propagate that, it's like challenging your wisdom. Have you forgotten what happened in Meerut? Who was the chief minister at that time? What happened in Hashimpura? Whose government was it? What happened in Muradabad on Eid Day 1980? Who was the PM and who was the CM? So it's setting the narrative right, because creating this rift between communities is on purpose to create vote banks. So we have to try and block that particular happening.
My question is to Kanchan Dada. As you told that there is a left liberal narrative, and we usually respond to that narrative. In social media, how we can create a alternative narrative? Rightist point of view or point of view of public, how can we crowdsource that narrative to take in a right direction instead of reacting to the left narrative?
You have to, what sets you apart from the others. We are all intelligent enough to know what is the right thing to say, the right thing to do in a given situation. Like, for instance, this whole thing about the Boston bombing. It's very interesting. I have often wondered, and this question comes up, that why us? So every time we get bombed, I ask myself, why us? Why us? I mean, why the poor victims? I mean, what did they do? And how does killing them help your cause? You kill a woman, a child, a man, big deal. I mean, you know. We are a big country, a country of 1.2 plus billion people. How many will they kill? But that apart, you know, this question, why us, when it is asked, you could try pointing out why you. Like there's this great tearjerker happening in America right now, why us? It's very bad, it shouldn't have happened, it shouldn't, and I wouldn't wish a terrorist strike on any country, on any people. I have seen with my own eyes what it means, what terrorism means. I was all of, I think, 26 years old when I saw this horrific scene of people traveling in a bus in Haryana, it was traveling from Punjab to Haryana, and they had been dragged out and shot. I have seen Maoist terror. It's terrifying. I have seen the very sight of somebody who, you know, if you meet somebody who has survived a terrorist attack and you know what kind of crime it is. So I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But when America asks, why us? You want to know why, what should be your response, and that becomes the alternative narrative. Here is a country which still continues to deny the epicenter of terrorism in this world lies in Pakistan. Here is a country that still continues to arm the jihadi factory of Pakistan, which is its army. Here is a country which still continues to sup with the Taliban in Afghanistan. And that country asks, why us? You know, each one of us should read this story called, or you can watch it, I think, you know, some version of it would be available on YouTube. Frankenstein's monster. So Frankenstein creates this monster, and then the monster turns on Frankenstein. And it ends, the story ends with the monster and its creator killing each other. And that is your narrative. That stop creating monsters. The other side's narrative will be, oh, they were smart kids, they were pretty kids, they had girlfriends, and they had ice cream in this parlor, and they would hang out over this place. You know, just ignore it. Don't tread that path. If you are talking about the economy, just talk about the hard realities of the economy. That is your narrative. You don't have to be an economist to do that. Don't get distracted by, oh, the world is sinking, that's why we are also sinking. Oh, because the diamond market is down, that's why we are down. No, I mean, we'll leave that to Indian Twitter. I mean, you know, do your thing. My point is just do your thing. Do what you think is right, say what you think is right, and make it very clear that this stands distinguished from the other narrative.
The question is to Madam Lekhi. What we are witnessing overall is a weird kind of a secular brinkmanship that is overtaking national priorities right now. This is in continuation to what you were talking about. In this case also, sometimes what confuses us, especially those on Twitter, are sometimes maybe a slower response from the BJP. I'll give an example. In the case of the canning violence which took place in Calcutta, in Kolkata nearby, and out there, unfortunately, even the people in Calcutta are not aware of this violence or what took place. Around 300 Hindu houses were killed just because of a rumor that a muezzin out there was murdered, and later it was found out it was something else completely, and 300 Hindu houses were gutted and so on. It was not carried much around in the media also. But then perhaps BJP also lost out there in terms of carrying out this and sending out a message. Forget anybody, in this case it were Hindus, it could have been anyone else. And the weird scenario in which the politics is moving in this respect, right? National importance is losing out to secular brinkmanship, and where does BJP stand on this?
Due to the conversation, which is again the narrative is set by the crooked people in the social system, which keep talking about communal versus secular. And any citizen's house being burnt in this country is not the right thing for any nation and does not talk well. So whenever we are discussing, of course there were Hindu houses and there was a narrative that it was the work of fundamentalist jihadi groups which cannot be lost sight of. And instead of allowing all the minority community to get together on this issue, the idea is to ask this question to minority community and the representatives, that do you think it is the right thing to happen? Do you think, and I'm sure most of them will disagree, that most of them will say that gutting Hindu houses is not the right thing. That is the way to set up a narrative. The idea is to not, now when I keep saying, oh, okay, there comes a tamasha happening, Hindu houses burnt, all people in saffron go there, do this, do that, start doing the opposite. Now that is not the right thing to do. The right thing to do is engage people on this issue, that in our country where population is 80%, close to 80% Hindu population, is it the right thing to happen to them, those who are more secular in their approach, to burn their houses? Is this the right narrative setting up for any country? Why should any citizen's house be burned and why should that not be questioned? You see, there is a different kind of politics that was taking place in Bangladesh around that time. I don't think this is the right platform to discuss that. And a lot of people within and outside are confused about the changing scenarios. Unfortunately, the atmosphere which is being built is as if whatever is happening in our nation's interest, which it is not, of course, because exchanging conclaves, etc., is not something which is in our interest, because the question to be addressed is how do you stop the jihadi element from entering India? And that is the basic question. Now, whether you exchange enclaves, whether you don't, how do you stop the elements from entering India and how do you control that? That is the question which is not getting addressed, and unfortunately these are the systems which are not in our control right now, and other than raising voice we really cannot do more than that. And sometimes the information which comes to us is also very late. There should be a political answer and there should be a political debate, and I think in case of Pakistani Hindus and Bangladeshi Hindus, etc., few things have happened in Parliament, and BJP has raised those issues.
I mean, there the forces, new forces have been powered by these fringe elements. Do you see this thing happening in Indian context?
Oh yes, because in the process they forgot to address real life issues. I mean, unemployment, prices. Inflation is a big thing happening in Israel, jobs. They forgot to address those issues, and
in came an unknown entity and walked off with the seats. So that's why I said that you have to be focused and you have to propel the change. Change is happening, change will happen, and the status quo will not hold. If it doesn't happen today, it will happen tomorrow. If it doesn't happen tomorrow, it will happen day after. But it is inevitable.
First, I thought the topic itself was a bit hazy for my understanding. But then, of course, now with a few more things added, I'm expected to give a startup kind of a statement. I'll risk some, but I'm being definitely cautious. Because what I think is very important here, at least for me as a person who's talking to you all, is I don't see you as one entity. You may be on one common platform, but you are as different from one to the other as many as you are here. So if I recognize that, I'm not sure if I'll be right in giving a homogenized message. Certain standard, observations can be made, but those observations will then look as if they're too general, they're so general that you'll think, oh, she didn't make a statement of consequence at all. But I think I will still make the general statements, because I'm very conscious, let me underline, very conscious of the fact that you are not an entity, not a single entity, and the beauty of the whole thing and your USP is your independence. I will not want to put you all into one box, even if there is a common undercurrent of certain beliefs, certain commitments that each one of you all may have, which have a commonality with, let us say, the party I represent. But even with that said, I think what I will underpin is your independence, is your one different from the other uniqueness, and more importantly, the ferocity with which you maintain your independence. And therefore, with all that appreciated, I will not want to give a common message. I think you should keep your independence. You should definitely be very keen on observing what is going on. Don't straitjacket yourself. And with all the energy, definitely participate in everything that which is going around us, good, bad, some terrible. But if there is an attempt to get homogenized, thinking that that's where the strength lies, I think getting together for the sake of strength may apply everywhere else. But for you all, remaining the way you are is your strength. And therefore, I'm a bit worried, even if for some one or two or three reasons, if you have common ground with, let's say, the Bharatiya Janata Party, I'll happily receive it, but I really do not want to risk putting you all together in the name of a collective strength. And so that is my first message. The second, I ideally want you all to interact, which is what the session was meant to be, so that I can open up and say a lot of things which come in my mind, not so much as an advice or even a suggestion, but a thought which comes in my mind whenever I look at my timeline. I'm really being very slow, deliberatively slow. Much before the interaction session is over, I don't want to give you my, let's say, conclusions about, as things stand, conclusions about what I feel about the Twitter in particular and also about the Facebook and other things. But I certainly will say, in the light of whatever has happened yesterday in the context of the Boston shooting,
bomb blast,
and also the shooting, I may not be the favorite of the day, but I'll still say it. Pause before you tweet. Just pause. Pause before you tweet. It helps. It helps your thought to be clearer than what it otherwise in haste may not end up being one. Pause. I think yesterday's context would be more appropriate to sit up for a minute and decide you will pause. Because I think the fantastic impact that you're making, which is unusual for any democracy anywhere, and of course there are some democracies which are seeing it also play. I'm not saying it's unique to India. But if in India you're able to sit up and decide you will pause, you will retain and gain strength. But if that pause doesn't happen now, and with the kind of developments that are happening to police your free speech, to contain your free speech, to regulate your free speech, the efforts that are going on will succeed. And I'm just sort of uttering the word of caution that unless you stop, pause, think about what you're going to do at this stage, and retain the spirit with which you're doing it, but with a sense of responsibility, where you're pausing to do what you're doing. I'm not asking for anything else better. You will probably eventually run out of steam, because the efforts which are going on to regulate, to contain, to streamline, and to also probably numb that effort which is coming from your side is, after all, coming from the establishment. Establishment succeeds in tiring people out, and if they tire you out, the whole objective of this exercise will be lost. So with that said, I'll leave it. Once we start interacting, I suppose my flow will also be a bit more freer and not so hesitant, and that can help the conversation. Thank you.
I mean, this democratic voice which is developing, and also developing to counter the sheer propaganda of the mainstream media, how are you as a party looking to link with it and to see how it can affect, I mean, what would be a good network for you to throw this government out of power?
Sometimes even provocative enough to speed up with work. For the risk of imagining something else more, I would say if it continues in the same way, with a bit of a stretch on something else which can happen. Continue in the same way, and that's what I suppose the topic of the discussion is also, to transcend and move and to be beyond the Twitter. I called it hazy because what is beyond Twitter? I mean, what is beyond the work that you're already doing? You're still going to be doing that. That's your USP. What more you can do is, I suppose, season specific. I say season because just before and after, less after but more before an election, I would think it would be important for all of you all in your very either professionally operative area, or your native place, or the place where you've spent your childhood, or something of that kind, for you all to physically engage in electioneering. I think it's one thing for you all to tweet, and with very great degree of knowledge and sensitivity, but totally a different thing to give that energy, to give that strength for the purpose of electioneering. because electioneering today has become very, very multi-layered. It's not like olden days where top leaders come and give a speech and go off, and after that the local karyakarta, recollecting the leader's speech, would go door to door and say we can do this, we can do that. Today it's much more complicated. It's much stratified. So I would think continue with what you're doing, but I'm very, very conscious of the fact that you should maintain your independence, not put all yourself together into one box and be treated as, oh, these are the pro X or Y or pro BJP group, ignore them. No, your word, every word should matter, and it will matter much more when you retain your neutrality within quotes. I know your heart is in one place. Some of your heart is much more in one place than anywhere else. But let it be where it is. But I think with that said, you should still be, your tweets should be still raising those questions which are typical for issues of Indian sovereignty, Indian fair play, Indian law, Indian rule of law, and generally justice. And therefore continue that. But please start working out for networking towards election. And that's where, depending on the place you choose to do, you will be able to make a direct difference.
Ma'am, how is the BJP planning? We have seen in the case of Congress. Now it is not a comment or something, but as we have seen in the case of Congress, ma'am, they have Sanjay Jha. Maybe he is very idiotic in his ways, but Congress has some kind of backing with him.
Total backing.
So Congress is outsourced completely, and ma'am, we recognize him as a Congress spokesperson, which I personally don't feel we should be recognizing, and we should be asking him why he is on a platform supporting Congress party. Yeah. So how are we planning to recognize some of the tweeters which are very brilliant?
They have stayed away from television debates, and they've stayed away from television debates in particular channels definitely much more number of times. And I'm not speaking for the Congress. I do not know, but it gives an impression that the Congress is comfortable by having outsourced it, using your terminology, to people who can speak for the Congress, and in that there is a discomfort, which is they can speak far more freely than an official spokesperson can. What stops the official spokesperson of any party for that matter to speak so freely as an outsourced person? You have certain framework within which an official language is conveyed. And that is where either you cross the party line or say things which are going to provoke a situation. These are, in the party scheme of things, sometimes detrimental to the existing some kind of movements within the party. And I'm saying this purposely because when you are careful not to really reveal much, but at the same time say what your party's position is, you're constrained and you are making sure that you're not going to be exceeding any of the brief given. But when you're pitted against somebody who doesn't have that weight on his shoulder, he can just speak, he can allege, he can throw allegations, he can charge you, he can spread innuendos, but you are there trying to refute, at the same time not giving away too much, because even as you speak, the party on that particular issue may be doing things. So here what happens is, there is a constraint on spokespersons from engaging with such people, but there are times also when the party feels that if you do not go, I've anticipated, when the party feels that if you do not go, the same panel can feel that the BJP is doing the same thing as the Congress. They don't come because they have too many explanations and answers to give. BJP is not there because it doesn't want to ask. There can be many interpretations. Oh, BJP is also like Congress, they are equally corrupt, they are equally this, they are equally that, and therefore they have also not come. Therefore, there is definitely this dilemma where you go sit facing an outsourced spokesperson of Congress who can be just unleashed, and you are there trying to keep within the line of parties, thinking, what is that line? There are times when the party, even as you're on the panel, is probably doing things towards a particular situation, and you're talking a particular line of the party without having to reveal what is happening there. Because if you reveal everything, because everything has to be said, and this age, everybody wants to know everything, your strategies can fail. So you are saying things, at the same time not revealing everything. You are there even knowing very well that there is no official representation from the party which is being pulled up. You are there. Sometimes you are there willingly, sometimes you are there unavoidably, sometimes you are there knowingly, and sometimes you are there after you reach there, they tell you nobody from Congress came, so we didn't have a choice. He is there. He may speak in support of Congress, but you don't have to take him seriously. Either way, you're weakened. So when there are situations when I tell them, saying, hang on, I thought you were going to have somebody from Congress. I'm here. And I'm pitted against somebody who's going to just unleash himself, not having the official constraints. That's unfair to me. Then they would say, oh no, it's okay, let him speak. He's not official. He may speak in support of Congress, so take it in your stride. Excuse me. And that's where that point, that there could be many among you all who, I do not want to compare with Sanjay Jha, but can probably speak for us.
One important point which I'm sure most of us must be thinking that everybody who supports BJP or who are right-leaning would want to see Narendra Modi as the prime ministerial candidate. It's not been announced. Yes, there are a lot of compulsions that we see probably, that I as the allies probably would not be happy with it. Or is it the internal politics of BJP which is not really allowing us to announce him as the prime ministerial candidate? Because if I reflect back in 2009, we were proactive in naming Mr. Ek Aur Prayas as the prime ministerial candidate. So what is stopping us at this point in time? Wherein if you ask me, probably 90% of right-leaning people will actually want Mr. Narendra Modi to take up as the prime ministerial candidate from the BJP or the NDP. So what exactly is that thing? Is it the compulsion from the coalition side, or is it the internal politics, or both?
It has, by implication, the suggestion that yes, the BJP is not willing to announce its prime minister's candidate. Or it might even suggest that, oh, Narendra Modi, no, we may not bring him. And that's the reason why I'm saying I'm going to have to give you several types of answer for it. Together with some, state karyakarta who meet us, give us inputs about, what should the party do as regards announcing a prime minister's candidate? Why not him? Why not somebody else? Why not, all this happens. But somewhere I want all of you all to please take a reply also as a reply in this scheme of things, that the party also strategizes for itself. I would want you all to believe the party also understands whether it should announce today, it should announce tomorrow. It's got information, and any party, any political party will have its own, bank of information based on which it will take a call. Now what is apparent to you all, together with that, what is not apparent to you all is with the party. What is not apparent to you all is also important to, internalize when we take a decision about the prime ministerial candidate. So if the anxiety is that BJP hasn't announced till yesterday, you have not said it, I'll risk it. Maybe no one here has said it, but maybe somebody has said it, and I'm not saying it without reason. Oh, BJP is no good. They don't understand what's happening in the grassroots. Please, BJP is, I was jokingly telling I was telling you or Kuli or whoever came to meet me the other day, Jimin, and I'll seek your pardon much before I say this because it might upset you all, because you're full of energy, you contribute, and we recognize that contribution, but in spite of that, I would want to say this, because this is consistent with the suggestion that I'm making. Suggestion, pause, think, and then do things. It will be consistent with that, and therefore I'll say this to you. Today, no, just a minute. Sorry.
Please carry on.
Today, Twitter plays a very important, critical role in determining the course of the mainstream media, in determining some issues with the print media, in determining many of the political thinking of the powers that be, in deciding how information is spread. All that granted, recognized, appreciated. I'm saying this. 2002, when Gujarat elections happened after the riots, this extent of role of the Twitter did not exist, did it?
It didn't exist. Twitter wasn't there.
That's what I'm saying. I'm only trying to tell you, sorry, world existed before Twitter. People fought elections before Twitter. That's not to say we'll live without Twitter. No. Let's underline that. Today you're here to, you've come to stay. You will have a role to play. You will determine a lot of things. You are going to be influential. With all this said, world ran without Twitter too. And that too not very far away. 2002, about which all of you are really every day spending time to say why it is unfairly stacked up against a particular individual, this debate about 2002. Right? All of you are really spending a lot of energy. But party, BJP, particularly BJP, we fought elections even then. We fought election in spite of the riot. So, pause. Your input is important. Your input is valuable. But I would want to tell you that there are some other features which will also have to be in the mind of a political party when it takes a call. It might time it. It might, look at the decision in a slightly different way. How stupid is the BJP? Why don't you all understand the grassroots mood? Reposition it, please.
Congress is going to attack you on secular communal basis. So what are you planning to do? Either you are going to defend yourself, okay, they will blame, they will put 2002, or you are going to attack them back and let them reply. They have multiple riots. I have seen in different websites. They have Nalli riots, Sikh riots, Assam riots, as recent as that. So you can attack them instead of defending. So why are we here defending side?
And even the 2002, after all, who started it?
Yeah. We can have a press, BJP can have a press conference. I can put charges, allegation on them. Let them reply. Again, tomorrow. If a lie is spoken 100 times, it becomes truth. So why can't we speak the truth 100 times?
And if you're asking me this question, I'm tempted to say, read up my piece. So the point is, when it comes to secularism, in fact, if you look at it, we are the only ones who are not defensive. We are saying what exactly is the terms of debate on secularism. Please look at it. I think it is the perception of the mind which receives the inputs, either from a television debate or from a press conference, which has to change. We are saying, tell us what is this whole debate about secularism. Tell us which party is untouchable. Tell us who has not been in alliance with the BJP. Every time, whether at a state level or at the central level, if there was an alliance with the BJP, there is not a single party which is left without being in alliance with us. So who exactly is the one who is practicing that secularism is a question that we are asking. And the second question as a counter to that, if Muslim League minister can be sitting in the union cabinet and Congress is never communal in spite of that, we are asking what is communal as opposed to being secular. I have asked this question several times. And I've also said that Congress in states like particularly Andhra Pradesh, they've had a long-running relationship with MIM.
Yeah.
And isn't that communal? So we have, Kerala has been for a very long time. So we have in fact raised these questions, not just on one debate or otherwise, we are saying the entire architecture of debating secularism itself is completely on a wrong footing. In fact, one of the, I'm taking this as an example because recently Barka had a We the People in which I was there on secularism related debate with Manishankar Iyer next to me. I said, when was this whole thing of secular India coming up? It was after the emergency, it was during the emergency when the parliament session was on an extended 1 year. After its full 5-year term was over, there was one extended year, and during that one extended year, this amendment to the constitution was brought in, secular socialist republic. Is that valid with all the opposition leaders being in the jail? Not those from among them, not one was there in the parliament to even raise a voice against it. Jabardasti imposed on India, secular word was added on to the constitution, and if you go back to the constitution makers' debate during the Constituent Assembly, it was elaborately discussed, and then it was decided that they will not have this word secularism in the constitution. The word secular was, after debating, denied entry into the constitution. And in fact, I even on that day asked, are we more wiser than those people who discussed it immediately after the 1947 partition business? And today we are feeling that we have to have the word secular to wear it on our sleeve. So in fact, I would say this debate on secularism or communalism will have to be on a completely different footing, and it is not for want of asking, it's also for want of receiving the idea. We, all of us collectively, are continuously going on this route of, are you secular, am I secular, and which is essentially blueprint Congress. Why are we engaging in that? Am I secular? Am I not secular? No, it is given by them. You imposed it on the country, you brought it into the constitution, especially after putting every opposition leader in the jail. Freedom of press was also finished because freedom of speech was curtailed during that time. Media could not raise a question. That's when the Congress chose to bring in secular. And so, it may be part of our constitution because it was imposed on us. After that, I'm sure there'll be some concerned, thinking individual in the press or among you who will say, then why didn't BJP remove it? We won't ask the Congress, but BJP didn't remove it. In the 5 years you expect us to do everything. Bhagirath got Ganga, but BJP should have got it also back. I'm sure there will be somebody who will ask me today, then why didn't BJP remove it if you thought it was wrong? Yeah? So, within the 5 years, we have been expected to do everything that has been poured on us, like tar, that which is used for laying the road, by the Congress in 50 years. So please, my answer to that is, question the very debate. We'll do that. I'm sure you, having a very powerful instrument in your hand, should also question it. What was the circumstances in which it was brought in? Did the constituent makers did not understand it? You should see, I won't mind writing a piece on it.
Please write a piece so we can tweet it.
The elaborate discussion which happened, where Ambedkar-like leaders have very clearly said, this is nonsense, we don't need it, we'll need it now. India has been in spirit a secular country. The essentialness of understanding and including everybody has happened over the centuries.
Secular is a term which developed in Europe to combat monotheism.
That's right. And today, irony is, a single religion centric countries like Bangladesh are speaking about secularism because they have to. Are you accommodating other religions? But we have not. Whether today, whether in 47 or whether 5,000 years, we've always had every space for everybody.
The Parsis have come, the Jews have
That's
come.
right. And therefore, this whole argument of having to profess that we are secular is a burden on countries which went on this religious route. We have treated everybody equally. And therefore, to have that debate in this country is just frivolous.
But Congress is forcing that. What to do?
And you are asking me questions. No, I have no objection. I have no objection. But I'm giving you the spirit of the whole thing. You know, Congress is doing this, Congress is doing this, Don't ignore some of them. Give them back.
The riots. In 10 years, you have not been able to convince your own ally that what is being labelled on Modi is not right. And we expect the entire India to believe it. That's first part of my question. Second is, even on many issues, there has been a feeling that BJP has been opposing things only for sake of opposition. Now, one example that comes to my mind right now is the FDI on retail. Party changed its stand on FDI on retail. There would have been reasons reasons to it. But why was it changed? The communication wasn't clear out.
I don't look at it like that. Alliance partners remain separate political parties. When they are in alliance with us, it doesn't mean that everything that we believe, they should also believe, and what they believe, we should also believe. This has happened in the case of Telangana issue, as regards TDP. And till today, our position on Telangana has not changed. We remain committed to it. But at that time, unfortunately, we were not able to convince the alliance partner. But given the nature with which and the temperament with which Atalji or Advaniji led the NDA coalition, they did not think it is right to impose it on an alliance partner, and they wanted to convince, take him along, and only then do. And that explains as to why we could not do it then. It's a very important fact that TDP also has changed its position on Telangana from then to now. But the fact remains, when you're in an alliance, you really don't completely take on everything which your alliance partner wants to do, or everything that you want to do with the alliance partner. That's the reason why they are still different parties, but we are all together with a common, goal.
One of the observations, and I'll pause here, is that someone tweeted that this is the weakest government ever, and somebody replied that this is also the weakest opposition ever. And is there something that BJP can do to put Narendra Modi without a coalition government all by his own? Otherwise, it would seem as if this victory has been handed over a silver platter to you. If you've already done so, please enlighten us.
I'm not sure I'll agree with weakest opposition ever. Although that will be the observation which most of you will be tempted to take. See, repeatedly when you're talking in terms of challenging the government in the parliament, you really cannot forget the number game. With the number of seats that you have in the parliament, if it was only possible to take objection to very critical scandals or, loss to the government or price rise, the failure of the government in X, Y, Z, whatever, if you had your numbers, you would have done it in the first stroke. And if every time this issue comes up, it is the number which matters. And if every time it comes up, the number doesn't change. But because every time it comes up and we fail to obviously, defeat the government in the parliament, it is taking a week. The number doesn't change till another election, does it? And if the number doesn't change before the election, and the way in which, even if you have common cause with a particular issue, while talking the common cause is visible, but when it is coming to the question of voting, whether it is the CBI or whether it is any other gratis that is received, a particular opposition party is not with you to add or strengthen the number that you have, you're just not going to make a difference in terms of pulling up the government. If that has been seen as a failure of the opposition, it is. Failure of the opposition also because, enough number of seats were not given by you all.
Well, it's also the failure of the third front. Where's the third front? They never open their voice.
That's right. No, they open their voice.
Only
they say, people, they're suffering and all that. But when it comes to voting, they press the wrong button. Yes. Yeah. So my worry is opposition's weakness. I'll throw it as a challenge back to you all because I'm in this audience. I won't say that outside. You have to reflect. It's your weakness. Why didn't you all give us enough majority? Why didn't you all give us enough seats? Why didn't you all raise the question of vote for a party which can challenge? Why did you splinter the votes? And why did you all, coming from various states, in each state, choose the regional alternative rather than a national alternative? And if that is the way things are going to be, I'm sorry, you can perceive us as failed opposition. You can't do without the numbers. Give us the numbers, campaign. That's where I think this whole thing of transcend beyond the Twitter is important for me. That's not giving away the BJP's job to you. Certainly not. I'm very, very greedy about holding on to my place.
Throwing out the UP.
Yeah, throw the UP out. Go to the field. Work there also. Transcend beyond.
People who is willing to have Narendra Modi as a PM in center and the BJP. There is a communication gap. Why don't you all Pravaktas give 15 minutes daily and take the questions from the triples?
Good idea, yeah. Please do it.
One question. The second question is, not all, but the few your Pravaktas are half prepared. They come to television channels and then they don't speak properly actually. I don't want to take name, but there are 3-4. Either you are falling short of Pravaktas or what is going on.
Even additional 20 odd names other than the spokespersons. So you will still have a lot of people appearing on television channels to take up the BJP's side. I'm certainly not here to comment on my colleagues, I will not. As regards preparation, I take your point. All of us will have to do more rigorous work, go with facts in our hand, all of us, inclusive of me, I'm not talking about others alone, all of us, because the more you're prepared, the better you can come across. One, that is if you get a chance to speak and you're not drowned in the noise. Yes, I take that point, certainly.
We also how Sanjay Nirupam insulted Smriti Irani ji. Why you didn't boycott NDTV? Why you didn't pressure NDTV to ABP News? Sorry, ABP News. Why you didn't put pressure on them?
We boycotted Sanjay Nirupam for a very long time. I'm not sure if it was officially withdrawn or if it was said, okay, you can't help it, you will have to engage, or else that channel will go, wherever he appears will go without a representative from BJP. From my side, at least twice I was caught unawares. After going to the channel, I realized he was there. And given my nature, I wouldn't have walked out, I would have ignored. But I take your point. It is not possible for a very long duration to ignore who remains to be an official spokesperson. I remember the example of Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who was withdrawn from the Congress's spokesperson list and reintroduced. Now after his coming back, we can't object saying, oh no, I won't come, because the party took some step and party also took another step. So there, you may choose to still say, sorry, we won't appear, which means you're forfeiting that space.
You said that we should choose the national alternative to the regional alternative. In Bihar, BJP has a better strike rate than JDU, in which you are in alliance with. Are you willing to be more assertive this time?
You're right in saying our strike rate was much, much better. And I'll also add the organization at the booth level, whole booth level of the BJP is definitely much superior to any other party, not just JDU. Even the Congress doesn't have that kind of a presence in the villages. You're from there, you'll probably know better than I do. So yes, we are looking at it, not just for Bihar, but for every other state too. Let's see what the party works out. We are conscious of what you've said.
Ever since the press conferences of BJP has come on Yuva and YouTube, we are consuming the whole lot. Otherwise, it was cut and paste job where we had seen only one part of it. Now, having been consuming the full part of the press conference, the other curiosity that generates out of this such press conferences, the wide range of silly questions that are being posed at you. I have been requesting for quite some time that there be a two-camera system, one focused on the journalist one focused on the spokesperson, so that we can identify those journalists, those who are putting up those questions. And as we carry out discussions on Twitter, we can expose those journalists and their purpose of asking such silly questions. Now, I had also asked that there should be a mic put, if they are not accepting the mic in their hand, at least a mic should be put with a cord there, or with a rod there, so that we can hear those questions clearly and see who is asking and get after them. This has not been done. Why are you shying away from protecting those journalists? Why I am saying this? Because I have said this to all your communications. Please expose them.
I honestly feel no question is silly. Irrespective of who asks me, no question is silly, because it's an opportunity for me to put my view across. A silly question can also be given a good answer. A good answer sometimes with a sense of humor, sometimes with a sense of saying, without saying so much, that it is indeed silly. But there are times when you can use that opportunity to say many other things too. So the question doesn't worry me. Even if it's silly, I would probably take it as an opportunity for us to speak. I also agree. Sorry?
Vajpayee was a master of...
That's right. He was excellent in it. And none of us can compare ourselves with him. The second thing about giving a mic to the person so that the question is heard properly is right. I think we should do it. I think there was a weak attempt at it, but there was a problem with the handset or whatever. And in spite of all that our IT cell can tell us about tech-savvy BJP, there are times when they also have difficulties. I take that point, and I think we can overcome that by giving them a question.
Ma'am, the bad part about being in such a meet is that you could be asked anything. It's not just about Twitter, it's transition.
The bad part about being a spokesperson is that even media asks us.
Transition beyond Twitter. So I'll ask a couple of questions beyond Twitter. One is, on the face of it, it seems that in Andhra you are not reaching out to Jagan Reddy, on the face of it. Are you? That is one. First question, you may, I would love an answer. The second part is that the food security bill. Now, the kind of subsidies that this government has given has led our economy, and we have reached where we have because of subsidies. That's plain and simple truth. The food security bill, and once the food security bill comes in, the kind of deficit that we have seen is going to really, because we'll have to import. We don't produce that much food. We need 350 odd tons of grain, 350 lakh tons of grains, whereas we produce only about 250 odd lakh tons of grain. So we are short of 1 lakh tons of grains. And in fact, even the world is not ready to provide us. Internationally, the food prices may go up, and therefore it will affect us even worse. So what I'm saying is that, is the BJP going along with we have seen the cash transfers schemes and everything, going through. Is the BJP going along with the food security bill as well, or is it taking a stand and saying, please?
In general, not just Andhra Pradesh, in general, I don't think we've started working on anything to do with the alliances. Who are we going with in a particular state or at the national level? I'm not sure if there's anything that I can give as, yes, we are doing this, or yes, we are not doing. No, we are not doing that. No, nothing substantial for me to give you on that. But as regards food security bill and the fiscal deficit, we have repeatedly said that the Chhattisgarh model, in terms of making PDS itself transparent, leaving the management of PDS to self-help groups, be it of women or anybody else, bringing technology into it by showing that when the truck leaves the godown with a certain number of grains for a particular village, which is all painted yellow, with its number sent as an SMS to that village self-help group. And the self-help group women themselves monitor it from the godown to the route, en route. When it reaches a particular area, did the driver stop? And after that, from there, when did he leave? Was anything, transacted from the truck, or offloading, onloading happened? Has very clearly made people realize that the intention of the government is to make it completely open. Grains reach any shop within the determined period. In fact, if I understood right, it has gone to the extent of saying you don't need to go only to that particular shop which you are enrolled in. You can have your grain collected from any shop in Chhattisgarh. Suppose you're here, next 15 days you're somewhere else, in that place you can go and claim your grain. And similarly, when the fair price shop cannot say I don't have the stocks, because people already know the stocks have arrived. So, very creative, people participatory methods have adopted, and that adoption has helped in grains reaching in time, fresh, and above all, the quality of the grain is tested. If you think your fellow is giving you bad quality, you can take it from anywhere else, you don't need to suffer for it. And the government also pulls up those fair price shops if they've done anything wrong. So we believe that if that way people have gained, both in terms of seeing that there is transparency and timely getting the grain, we should go in that route. So on food security bill, with this repeatedly said from our side, we are waiting to see what actually is coming as the bill from the government. Then we'll take a position on it. So we are repeatedly underlining that Chhattisgarh model, which the government of India itself has repeatedly saying, and the Supreme Court has said that this is a fantastic model. So we will be keeping that in the back of our mind when the bill comes. And of course we are very conscious, because the entire FRBM principle, which is the financial regulation and budgetary management, which actually suggests that fiscal deficit should never cross 3%, was brought by the BJP. We are conscious that we have to be responsible in dealing with public money. The other thing which we did during NDA rule was restricting the size of the cabinets. States which had just 60 members in assembly had about 25 ministers. All this adds to the burden of the economy. Those are the kind of things which we made sure that we worked on, so that in the framework itself there are enough checks and balances to make sure there is a fiscal responsibility with which any government will work. So I'm glad you're linking the fiscal deficit aspect to dealing with the food security bill, because that's what it's going to impact on. And on both the grounds, food security and on fiscal responsibility, it is the BJP which brought in that kind of a yardstick, and therefore we'll stick to it and we'll further it. So we are not going to be, blindly engaging in debates without understanding what we've already done and what we have bounded to do further.
I'll give Mrs. Sitaraman a standing ovation, please. She's been very, very gracious to come here and take all our questions, especially on the social media as a watchdog.
Thank you.
MS.
Thank you.